So, my name is Roger Herson. I am the I am the host of the official Beverly Witch podcast. We like to discuss a lot about the history, diversity, and culture of Beverly. With me is my 25 years, what, like 25 years we've been friends?
Something like that.
Something like that.
I didn't even know how it even happened. It just happened.
We started out in the same coven, actually, and then
Same coven.
we separated, two fellow witches.
There was a schism.
There was the dark schism. It was kind of weird. But anyways, we were survivors, and we've been friends since. But shared love of history has really been something that also bonds us. So Nate McManus, my dear friend, and hopefully frequent co-host.
Yeah, just Nate.
Just Nate works.
Old-fashioned.
Nathaniel, yeah, there you go. We don't want to confuse you with the other Nathaniel of Salem.
Oh, him.
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyways, not sorry. So, we're going to focus a lot. We all know Salem is such a popular place. In fact, what are we in September? And it's more crowded there right now than Grindr at a major Republican convention. So it's crazy over there.
That's weird.
So we're
I don't know.
Have you? I mean, you're there. I haven't been there yet.
I mean, it was crowded last weekend, but it wasn't bad. They had the.
So we're not crashing Grindr yet.
No, they had the food truck festival.
Oh, that's right. I heard about that.
That was fun. They also have like these strange barriers up there, thanks to the New Orleans guy in Bourbon Street crashed everybody. There's like these big barriers on the end of the streets, so no one will do a hit and run.
Somebody sent me a picture of a busker they saw that they're. He called them the butt busker, because the guy's wearing a thong and chaps out there busking in Salem.
Well, whatever you got to do to hustle.
I guess. Yep, there you go. That's beautiful. There you go. It's a lot of fun over there, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So we know that, but what a lot of people don't know is that Salem is not the only place in this area that was affected by things like the Salem witch trials. Another thing I like to point out too is, Salem is having their big 400-year celebration this year. Well, so is Beverly. We have been around as long as Salem. When, Endicott and his group came into Salem, they kicked out poor Roger Putnam, listen to me, Roger Conan. And he came over here to Beverly, and he founded Beverly. And so this is sort of, I like to tell people that we're like the younger stepchild to Salem.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, we like to give Salem a little kick in the shin to remind them that we're here.
Was it sort of like a schism? Like we talked about?
I read something somewhere that at one point in time, people in Salem used to call us Old Beggarly.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that's okay. That's not nice.
Well, where I live in North Salem, over the bridge on Kernwood, there's Royal Side.
Yeah. Which actually is the ancestral lands of my 11th great grandfather.
Yeah. So it was like a new land tract to expand.
And I think there was a while that Ryleside was actually part of Salem and didn't join Beverly right away. I could be wrong about that. There's I would have to do more research on that. But anyway, so we like to let people know we're here. And, we're about to celebrate 400 years, too. And knowing how much pressure is on Salem every year in October, we like to kind of help alleviate that. And there's one other thing. I mean, you go online, and when you see people come online or they go on Facebook and they say, hey, we heard Salem is so crazy every year. What's the best way to get into Salem? One of the things that I see more than anything is park in Beverly and take the train. So, they're already here. They should be visiting with us, and they completely miss all this beautiful stuff here, like historic Beverly, the Hale House.
I mean, it's good places to eat downtown. They're not as crowded.
Some of these food places are amazing, too. Absolutely. Some of the best restaurants.
I think they're kind of missing out.
Oh, they're definitely missing out. Well, remember, A&B used to be in Salem. Now it's here in downtown Beverly, right down the street from us, right here. And then across from that, there's Bonefish Harry, which... Ooh, that's good stuff.
I mean,
too.
as far as Beverly is concerned, or like October and Salem. I mean, Essex County has beautiful places that people should explore as well. So.
Yeah, and most importantly, what we're going to talk about today the graveyards.
The graveyards.
And the reason I bring this up is because we actually have we have 3 cemeteries, very old cemeteries here in Beverly that are in close to or in very critical condition. The number one that I'm aware of mostly is the Conant Street Cemetery.
Yep.
And this is actually in North Beverly, and it's set back in the woods, so it's really one of those places that if you didn't know about it, I don't know if I've taken you there yet. Have you
No,
been there?
not yet. But I remember, well, where I grew up out in Leicester, Massachusetts, there was the Spidergate Cemetery, which was really a Quaker cemetery. It's out in the middle of the woods. It had all these strange legends about child sacrifice and whatever.
Was that the one that they called like Creeping Jesus or whatever?
I forget. But anyway, I remember growing up as a kid and my dad would take me out there. It was just a normal cemetery, but of course people around, they like to make a mystery thing.
Oh,
about
that's
it.
where the dead are.
That's where the dead are. They were saying like some kid hanged himself and then like where
Meanwhile,
he
you have
hangs.
us witch children.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, it's funny because, kids, when I was growing up, some of my friends thought I was a little weird.
Yeah.
Because when I discovered the Conant Street Cemetery, I was 10 years old. I grew up in that area. And I being, 10-year-old kid, I was thinking I was all badass, snuck out of the house after dark, and I'm going to go explore the old graveyard near my house. But I was talking about the bigger one, which is there. It's the newer one. And, but I kind of was walking around and I kind of went up this pathway and I found this cemetery by accident one night. And I just remember being so immediately falling in love with it. And I've been obsessed with this cemetery ever since. And it has been a very deep spiritual place for me, even before the time I understood that most of the people buried in there are my relatives.
Yeah.
But the oldest stone, and this is where I want to sort of cover why we're so worried about Conant Street. First off, the oldest stone was put there in 1718, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Although we certainly didn't have a Valentine's Day yet then. But it was Constable Joseph Herrick.
Well, they certainly weren't Catholic. Anyway.
Well, decidedly not. So it's Constable Joseph Herrick, and of course he was one of the constables during the Salem witch trials. My connection to him is that he's actually my 9th grade granduncle. He was married to, I believe it was Sarah Leach. And Sarah Leach had a sister named Mary Leach. Mary Leach went on to marry a man named Benjamin Ireson of Lynn.
Yep.
And she was one of the accused during the witch trials. Mary Ireson of Lynn was accused but acquitted. So this Beverly connection, although she'd moved to Lynn, but she's the sister-in-law of this constable. So that's the Salem witch trial connection right there in the Conant Street Cemetery. And as you know, as an example, Charter Street Cemetery in Salem is on a hill, and it's on top of a hill.
Yeah.
Right? And so Conant Street Cemetery is also on top of a hill, and in fact, the whole one side and back of the cemetery is at the top of the hill.
But do those headstones represent everyone that's actually buried there?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Because
That's something I'll be working with, studying at
what I mean?
Historic Beverly. Yeah,
That's a lot of like Cop Hill Cemetery in Boston.
Yep.
It's not everybody.
and that's what's interesting about it. And where it's set back like it is, it's really, I'm not sure. But I do know that over time, the erosion of the hill has come perilously close to at least a couple of the stones, and to the point where they could just topple over. And then there's of course and of course this is a we don't really know for sure, but are there remains underneath that could become exposed in the hillside? I mean, it's been so many years later. Would it even be
Possibly.
after what 300 years?
Possibly. I mean, bones don't completely
No,
disintegrate.
so we would have remains, and then those would essentially could become exposed. And then you have the risk, people bring their, right on the bottom of that hill, there's property lines, and people do bring their dogs back there, and there's a lot of wildlife. In fact, I don't go to that cemetery at night Not anymore, not because I'm afraid of some spiritual thing, because in that sense, it's like a home to me, but
Yep.
the last time I went in there after dark, I was chased out by a number of coyote sounds. And I was like, if I was in a group, okay, but I'm alone and I don't know how many coyotes are in the woods out here.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of, deer, coyote. So,
We have fisher cats too.
Do we?
Do we hear them?
oh, wow.
They sound like screaming babies.
And that's out by not too far from when I'm like, that's all we need to hear. We're out in the cemetery. We start hearing a screaming baby. I'm out. Even as a witch, I'd be like, nope,
Oh yeah,
nope.
there's always some battle out on the street in the cemetery at Greenlawn. You hear animals because it's in the woods, and you hear turkeys.
Oh, Central Cemetery here in Beverly, you always hear animals.
You hear turkeys. You hear the baby screaming sounds, and you hear scuffles of animals killing each other.
Oh, that. They're just animal sacrifices to other animals, folks. Everything is fine.
Oh yeah, it's completely National Geographic out
Did
there.
I ever tell you the story, one of the funniest stories of me on a tour in Salem? And this is back when I was much less, for lack of a better term, I was trained at the time by a much more commercialized company, and I wasn't at the point yet where I had even discovered my ancestral roots. And so I kind of like first started out being trained for the hokey side of Salem. And much to my shame, that was a thing that I did at one point. And so I was at the cemetery one night, old burying ground, and I'm standing in the memorial, and I've got the stone wall right behind me. And this was back before they had like tour number limits. So I had
Okay.
100 people, about 100 people on this tour.
How do you corral that?
I mean, this was also back where we didn't have 1,000 tour companies in one tiny little downtown area. We were one of maybe a dozen big companies. So we always kind of had, pretty much the memorial to ourselves as we would go in. So I had like 100 people around me, and I'm sort of right there at the entrance, and I'm standing up in front of that stone wall. And I'm just telling the story of like a crying ghost in the cemetery.
Right.
And as soon as I start saying, like, when you can hear her cries at night sometimes, all of a sudden this god-awful wailing came from behind me, scared the crap out of one woman. She fainted. It was the one time I had a woman faint on a tour.
That's cool.
And we kind of like got her to, but the thing was, when I looked behind me, there were two cats, and one of them was like screaming at the other one.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it was like, it was just such a great moment, because it was like, the timing was perfect. And I was like, I turned around to the group and I'm like, I swear to God, I did not script this. This is not part of the tour. But the timing was perfect.
Synchronicity.
Yeah,
I think there's in our environment where we live, there's a sense of like psychometry. You kind of feel what you sense, and what you sense is usually, true at the moment, but obviously not true to everybody. But
yeah. So and I think Salem has a lot of amazing cemeteries, but I mean here in Beverly, like with the Conant Street, which like I said we're so close to missing. We also have Abbott Street Cemetery, which is where Reverend Hale is buried, and this is the story that I love to talk about at Abbott Street Cemetery.
yeah,
And that is the story of John Israel Baker. Now I brought up Conant Street Cemetery. And I'll be sharing a graphic on the screen of an old book. And I'm going to just show the book here. And it is called History of Beverly. This is actually an edition that was redone in the 1970s. But it's a book that was originally published in 1843 by a man named Edwin M. Stone. Edwin Stone was, he kind of a jack of all trades. He was a historian. And he was, at one point in time, he's a Congregationalist minister here in Beverly. And I don't know for sure. I will find out more. I'm going to be meeting with historic, Abby Battis. She's the director of Historic Beverly. I'm going to ask her tomorrow if she knows anything. I think he may have been possibly a minister at Second Congregational in 1843. I don't know for sure. But certainly that being the case, he would have, I mean, he writes about that cemetery in the book, and I'll read it in a minute, but he basically, in this passage, he's saying, and let me pull it up on my phone now, and I showed it to you yesterday. He basically is pleading with who I can only assume would be the city clerk at the time. I'm going through our messages to find. Oh, there, okay. Here it is. So I'm going to read this real quick. My glasses.
Oh, boy. The glasses. Age, yeah.
Age ain't nothing but a number. So he's talking about that Conan Street Cemetery, and he says, but time has been busy with the gravestones, and unless some old mortality soon exercise his friendly office, few inscriptions that can be deciphered will remain. And I just thought, well, that's very cryptic.
Old mortality.
Yeah, so I did some digging.
Yep.
Like old mortality, and he puts it in quotation. So I'm like, what could he possibly be referencing? So in 1816, Sir Walter Scott, who was a very well-known historic novelist, he wrote things like Rob Roy.
You know, it's funny about that, Sir Walter Scott, you know, Ravenswood in Gloucester. Well, that was the setting for an opera of by Lucia de Lammermoor, which Sir Walter Scott wrote. Lucia, The Bride of Lammermoor, and the person who founded Ravenswood was in love with the opera, so he named it after.
So in 1816, Sir Walter Scott wrote a historic novel called Old Mortality. And that's exactly what I find that this Reverend Edwin Stone is referencing. But he's saying Old Mortality used his office, and I'm like, who could this be? And the only person I could figure it would be a man named John I. Baker. John I. Baker was, in 1842, when the book would have been written, he was the city clerk of Beverly. He would go on to really have a big role in the city of Beverly, to the point of being the first mayor of Beverly in, I want to say, 1897. But here in Beverly, among history lovers, he's a bit of a villain. Because here you have this minister pleading with possibly him to save a cemetery. And this is in 1843. And in 1868, this same John Israel Baker, he decided that he did not want, during his office, when he would go from City Hall to his home, which was at the end of, which was right on the other side. So Abbott Street now is divided, or Abbott Cemetery is now divided by Abbott Street. That street was put in there because John Baker decided he was tired of having to walk around the cemetery to get to his house. So in 1868, he decided, we're going to plow through and we're going to just build a road. No thought to, hey, there's a cemetery in your way. That's fine, whatever. So some people had the forethought enough to say, we better dig up those remains and those bodies that are there. Unfortunately, among the remains that were there were, of course, Reverend John Hale himself. And so John Israel Baker sees some golden opportunity, and he says, well, we have the remains of the great Reverend John Hale. Let's put them on display. So they put John Hale's remains on display at the First Parish Church in Beverly for, I think it was 2 weeks in 1868.
So a relic.
And then they reburied him in the spot that he's in now. And that,
That's interesting.
it is. It's weird.
It is weird.
Strange, and it's,
Kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of displacement. I mean, it did kind of, we don't know now where a lot of you talk about displacing bodies and everything, and that's something that has been a result of that. I mean, there's a coolness factor historically. It's a cool story to tell, but it's also gross.
Well, I
Anyway,
mean,
you know.
we don't think of death as.
Imagine if somebody tried to get away with that today.
Well,
Hey, we're gonna dig up the body of President Roosevelt, and we're gonna put it. And I'm talking Teddy, not Franklin. And we're gonna put it on display at the Smithsonian for a month.
Well, they do that
With mummies,
in,
right?
in saints. You know, the
But for some reason, we're kind of like, oh, wait, no.
you know
Why?
the Gen Z saint that was canonized.
Oh, yeah?
His body was on display in a church in Italy.
Was it?
Yeah,
So, I mean, this is not
just
something
in
that...
his
So, this,
like his soccer uniform. And
so I guess it's odd, but not that uncommon.
No.
Even now.
no, we sanitize death. We don't confront it as much as they did back then.
That's true too. I feel like, I mean, you've got what in Salem, you've got St. Peter's Church where they turned the graveyard into a parking lot.
Oh, that's true.
Yep.
Yep.
What was that? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot.
Well, I mean, Old North Church in Boston has a crypt. Has a crypt. Who knows who's there?
You know what fascinates me about some of these old cemeteries that I actually learned? You get those big tableau stones. And what a lot of people don't realize, because we get people over the years, they would ask, like, you know, how does it work? Is that a whole family? Is that just a stone? Is it a theft deterrent? Like, what is it? Some of those are the entrance to a crypt. I mean, if you take that top off and you look in, there's stairs that go down, and it goes into an underground crypt.
There was a cemetery on Broad Street. You know what I'm talking about? In Salem. When I first visited, there was actually cracks in the vaults. And I don't want to admit it, but you could actually look inside. But they repaired them since, I don't know how long. But
There are some odd...
Because it was weathering, it was deterioration. You could actually look inside and see the coffin.
Wow.
But now they've filled in the gaps.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Because I'm more worried when stuff like that is exposing it to the elements and stuff like that. I think about a story that it's kind of I researched it a long time ago, but twice there's an old cemetery in Newburyport. It's on a big hill, and there's one particular grave that for some reason first it happened in like the 1980s. A bunch of kids broke into a crypt there. And they were like playing around with the skull of one of the bodies. And they were like putting on the clothes of the corpse and everything like that.
I
and
heard
just
of
doing
that.
weird. And so what happened was the school couldn't figure out who it was. So they announced in school, like, listen, guys, if you don't come forward, there could be diseases attached to those clothes and you could get really sick and die. It was a lie, by the way. They were just trying to scare the kids because every kid came forward like, oh my God, it was us. Are we going to die? And they're like, nope, but you're busted now.
Yeah.
So then it happened again. It was like more like in the early 2000s. There was a kid doing community service, cleaning the cemetery, and he got into the crypt, and he was like taking selfies of him with the skull, like, hey, like twice. Same skull, same body.
Weird.
I'm like, what the hell happened to that guy in life that he deserved? Was he a partier in life? And he's like, hey, come get me.
I don't know what to think. Anyway, yeah.
It's just the things people do in cemeteries.
There are open vaults in Harmony Grove Cemetery. They're vacant. They're just on the hills.
I've a lot. Wow, I haven't been into Harmony
Yeah,
Grove in a
they're
long
just
time.
wide open. There's nothing in them, but
Are they waiting?
I don't know.
Are they open or are they just
Maybe it was just
never
abandoned.
claimed? Abandoned?
I don't know. Do you abandon?
Can you abandon a mausoleum or a crypt? Like, yeah, we're out of here. Like, did they get vacated? Like,
Can you?
I don't know.
That's interesting. Well, I know, like in like New Orleans, if you didn't pay your rent of your family, they just kicked them out on the.
I'm pretty sure
On the
here.
street.
I was reading about. I don't think it. So, as I understand it, the gravestones here become in perpetuity property of the descendants, but
Right.
there's no like expectation that you have to continue to pay or even upkeep the stone or anything. The grounds themselves are city property. They maintain the
Yeah,
lawns
that's
and
true.
everything, but the stones themselves, the city will not touch.
I mean, was there a point at some point in history where it was
I don't know.
you had to pay? Who knows?
I'm not sure. I'll look into that. That's a good question. I'm not sure. That's kind of a, yeah, I'd like to know that. I know now it's different. I mean, all I know is when I get buried in Central Cemetery, which I plan to be, I want a big pentacle on my gravestone. Maybe I'll be the first one with giant pentacle on the thing.
There's someone in Greenlawn who's a witch.
There's a lot of witches in there.
No, but he has
Accused and unaccused.
No, he has a prominent gravestone. I think it's made out of lapis
It's
lazuli.
not Sean Poirier, is it?
No, it's I won't say who. If you don't want me to say who.
No, who?
Richard Ravish.
I don't know who that is.
He owned a New Aeon.
Oh, really?
Yep. His wife was Gypsy.
Oh,
you remember him?
yeah. Okay.
He has a pretty nice stone.
That's great. That's good to
It has
see.
like Egyptian cartouches on the side of it. And
Here's a little funny little.
he was a wizard among things, you know.
Do you know what president finally allowed the pentacles to be allowed on stones in Arlington National
I
Cemetery?
think it was Obama.
Nope. It was George Bush.
George Bush, yeah, I
It
remember
was
that.
W.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I heard about that. It was not pushed, but advocated by somebody in Salem.
Yeah, and he fully supported it. He's a cool guy. Come on, considering he's like everybody's. He's an artist now. You know, he's painting. He's painting
Yeah,
portraits and stuff.
I mean, it still doesn't make him a good president, but anyway.
No, but he's painting. So there you go.
I'm
I didn't say he was a good president. I said he's an okay guy. He's a good guy. I'd like to go to a baseball game with him. Maybe have a beer.
He's decent.
Yeah,
He's a decent man.
But that's about as far as I'll go with it.
That's it.
Have a beer at a ball game, talk baseball,
I shouldn't say that.
right?
I
What?
don't want to divide the city.
We're not dividing anyone.
Okay.
We can cut it out later if we have to. I'm not going to though. I'm keeping it. Totally keeping this.
I don't want to divide this among political. Oh, great. Now we've got like a woke
We're gonna be
witch.
censored. We're gonna be. My goal for this podcast is to be censored by the current regime, administration.
Harangued. No, wait. Garroted. Garroted.
Well, I am a witch. Maybe they'll hang me. That's
You know, they
okay
could
if
bring
do.
back auto da fe. It'll be like a grand, ceremony of executions. We don't know.
Maybe Salem becomes the place where we're gonna. I don't want to. No, I don't want to go down that wormhole.
When the Ukraine war started, like when it started in 2022, there was a Russian, when they had their state television, the Satanic Temple.
Oh, I remember you telling me about
The
this.
Satanic Temple backed Ukraine, and the guy,
And we have, wasn't it like the Satanic Temple in Salem is
Yeah.
like right down the street from a Ukrainian church? So somebody
Yeah,
in Russia
like-
was like, "Oh my God, they're connected."
well, actually, I kind of made that conclusion myself, but the
Oh,
thing
okay.
is, the
Well, at
guy,
least you admit it.
the guy on Russian news is saying like, well, it is Salem, the home of witches and Satanists. Because they kind of did this good and evil stuff.
You know what? You know what fascinates me? And I will say this. I'm as much a native of Salem as I am Beverly. I'm actually 12th generation of both cities, and I tracked 100 to 120 ancestors that came here in the 1600s.
Yeah.
I joke around, but it's not even really a joke. I'm related to everyone. I mean, when I look at my family tree and I look at like who I'm even distantly related to, I go into these old cemeteries and I look up a name and I'm like, oh, this is your fourth cousin 10 times removed and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so I'm just related to everybody.
So your
Which
family tree runs horizontal.
I mean, it's New England. And I think a lot of people forget that I tell people, look, if you have one or two connections to the Salem witch trials, which is really what everybody around here, people get so excited. And I've seen, being really, part of being a witch for me is the story of our ancestors. I worship my ancestors. So I mean, they literally created me, so I really delve into what I can learn about their lives, and I notice other people are the same way. Even people who don't worship their ancestors per se, as soon as they find that connection to the past, they become very, very passionate about it. And I had noticed it more so in witch persecution victims than anyone else. People that find out that they're attached to somebody who is accused of witchcraft, that seems to be one of the things that excites. You know, you can talk about, oh, I have a Mayflower descendant, but most people are like, yeah, well, I was descended from Bridget Bishop of the Salem witch. And people even lie about it. I've had people say to me, well, I was the seventh daughter of the seventh daughter of the seventh daughter of the seventh daughter of Bridget Bishop. And I mean, I know Bridget Bishop because she was married to my 11th great-grandfather, and she only had one child survive past infancy. So I know that's not true. You know, so you have this person telling you, yeah, you know, Bridget is, and you have to decide, like, am I going to be, this is a customer, mind you,
Yeah.
trying to tell me, and I have to sit there, and I don't know if they really believe it. So do I have to now crush their soul? Because you sometimes see the look of people when you have to correct them, and they just look like you destroyed their whole universe.
Well, they want to believe the legend, but
Yeah.
I'm distantly related to Lizzie Borden.
I have some relation to her somehow.
But, you know, everyone's
I
like,
knew
oh,
we were
that
related somewhere.
I was like, this,
We're connected through Lizzie Borden. That makes
Yeah.
so much sense.
And everyone's like, you know, my aunt, she's like, you know, they were two schizophrenics in their family. You never know. I'm like, because of her?
Like probably a distant relative too. It's
Distant relative. She didn't have children. You know, they're related to the Borden family, which were Canadian. I think they were Canadian. They own the Borden.
Man, the Canadians are
Borden
crazy. You know how I know
dairy.
Canadians are crazy? Because I have just as much Canada. So it's funny because I went on a tour actually in downtown Salem. I was always perplexed by the fact that here my father, this is my biological family. I was adopted when I was 8, so adoptive family is different. But my biological father's father, he was all this Puritan ancestors all came from him. My biological father's mother,
Yeah.
her father came down from Canada. So she was first generation French Canadian. And it's funny because the two of them I don't know how their marriage even happened because they were like oil and you're talking about an old Puritan and an old Irish Catholic and then a French Canadian and like I don't know, it was just bizarre. And so when I went into my grandmother's family, her family go all the way back. In fact, you ready for this? Her 10th great-grandmother, my 11th great-grandmother, and I don't know how to feel about this, was the first white baby born in Canada.
See, I don't have to go that back. I can't go back far like you can.
Honestly, it really was, I think, because it was already done, because there was so many like connections to the early settling of the city. Lawrence Leach, who was my 11th great-grandfather, he settled in what is now Ryleside. I think we mentioned that earlier. And he had come here with a lot of money, a lot of influence. And so he had all this land. He built a mill out in the Ryleside area. And it was such an important mill that, you know, they decided to build roads to it to make commerce easier. He was chosen in the jury of the first ever murder trial in the colonies. And this is a fun one. It was a manslaughter case, so I cannot remember for the life of me the names, and once I find them out, I'll find a way to put them maybe like in a caption or something in the video. But the murder trial there was this man. He was a manservant, somebody's servant, and he had displeased his master, and so the court had this, you know, as a punishment, was going to have him whipped, but it could not be the master that whipped him for whatever reason. And I don't exactly know the legalities involved, but the court assigned somebody to whip this man's servant. And the man they assigned was like 3 times bigger than the servant. He was like 6'5". He was like massive blacksmith, you know? And like, they're like, okay, you're the blacksmith. Go ahead and whip that boy. And I mean, he whipped him to death. It was not supposed to whip him to death, but he whipped him, as it said in the paperwork I recall, so soundly that he beat him to death. And so he was put on trial because they, you know, they needed to sort of investigate whether he had done it on purpose or not. He was acquitted because the decision was that he just didn't know his own strength.
I had that problem when I first tried to play tennis. You know,
Did you beat the ball to death? What?
I like launched that ball right across the, you know, the court, not even knowing my own strength. They're like, you have to be a little more gentle. I'm like, oh, okay, sorry.
That's
See, that's probably
interesting.
what happened.
That's it. But yeah, no, I mean, I could, you know, my. That's wow. Well, I mean, and you imagine, right? Come on, like you put too much force into it.
You
Yeah,
know,
there
you know how much force it takes to be a blacksmith.
Oh, exactly.
So he maybe just didn't know
his arm is probably 5 times the size of an average human arm. I mean, he's, you know, you're probably talking like Arnold Schwarzenegger beating on Rick Moranis or something.
I know. So maybe he thought it was just like, you know, this is how I play tennis. You know what I mean?
I don't think they had tennis. Puritans
No, of course they
like
didn't.
games.
No, of course they didn't have that. But you know, same kind of analogy.
They just beat servants for fun. That's
Maybe he
just-
never did it before.
You think he never administered a beating before?
I don't think so.
Probably not.
I think that would require a little bit of finesse.
I wonder how they chose. Like, how do you choose, like, who's going to do the beating? Because, I mean, here's the thing. Here's my thought. And I don't know, but, like, let me just theorize for a minute. Did you purposely choose the biggest dude you could find to beat this guy because you're just a facetious jerk or what?
I wonder, because maybe you got to pick someone who's a stranger because you wouldn't have any bias.
So you choose the biggest stranger you can find?
You wouldn't have any bias in beating him. Make sense?
I guess. But maybe it was the lack of emotion that was the problem. He's just like, he's not thinking about it. Maybe he just started thinking he was like making a sword or a nail, and he was like, doo-doo-doo, and then he just was like, oops. I don't know, it's just bizarre. Just the concept of, hey, we need somebody to go beat somebody else, like, for the court.
The tennis court. No.
Maybe they should change the rules of tennis. That might make it more exciting. Gladiator tennis kind of thing. Come on, why not?
Why not?
It's just, you know, I mean, have you ever watched his tennis matches lately? They get aggressive. I mean, they get mad at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then there was like that guy that took the hat away from that kid. Did you see all that? Anyways, cemeteries. So yeah, you had mentioned last night, Reed, and you know, with my favorite cemetery in Salem. Now, Conant Street Cemetery here in Beverly is, you know, it's like a very special place for me. I mentioned Abbott Street Cemetery as well. Mm-hmm. You know, and then we have a cemetery in North Beverly that's fairly old and also a wonderful place to explore. And then Central Cemetery, which, you know, is, so I have this fascination with Central Cemetery because there are some really kind of cool historic figures buried in there. There's a man named Larkin Thorndike. He was one of the early captains of the Minutemen that helped storm Bunker Hill. Mm-hmm. Beverly was one of the first groups to respond. Did you know that? Mm. And Larkin Thorndike was one of the officers there. He was there. There's the grave of John and Abigail Dyke, and this is actually, they weren't super famous. It's interesting the way the Dyke family connects with Beverly and Salem, and this is why I like to focus on them. Now, first of all, in Abbott Street Cemetery, there's a stone that says, nearby this stone lie deposited the remains of 6 infant babies, children of John and Abigail Dyke. And we don't really know where the bodies are. They could be all strewn throughout Abbott Street Cemetery. They could be in the middle of, they could still be under the road over there Because as I understand it, when they do road work over there, sometimes they do still uncover. I don't know the validity of that. A local told me that they have found remains when doing road work since. And I have no reason to doubt it, considering the fact that when you do road work over there, you're still digging into an old cemetery. And I'm sure back then they didn't eliminate all the remains, I would imagine, that are buried there. So I wouldn't want to have to be one of the people that works on a road over there. I just say, like, imagine like you're just like digging up and you're like, what the there's a skull down here. Like, what are we going to do with this? Actually, that happened.
That happens a lot.
It just happened over in Charter Street.
Oh, yeah.
The Salem Wax Museum over there is doing they did a whole bunch of renovating, and they were digging into their parking lot to improve the paving over there. They found bits of pottery, like mugs, like porcelain, I think it was, and they also found some human remains. And that's why for a while there they had it completely closed off and you couldn't even see in there because they were trying to figure out what they had found.
Oh, yeah.
So what happens there?
Yeah.
Now, I read somewhere with Charter Street Cemetery that there's the main part of the cemetery, which is what you see today, and then where the bank is, when you go down towards Central Street, there actually was, because, you know, if you look, the parking lot of that bank, you can tell that some point in time, they just leveled the hill. And that was, so basically what I understand it is they leveled that hill and they moved it all over, because all that part of Central Street is landfill. So basically they took this part of the cemetery and they flattened it all out. And from what I've been told, that I'd have to really dig to see if it's true, that the hill they leveled was where they buried the paupers, is Pauper Hill. So for all they know, all those remains could be strewn all over that area, in the landfill. I'd have to really see if there's anything at like there'd have to be like, I'd have to see documentation
You'd have
to believe it fully, to really be able to say, but and you know, the person that told me was somebody who I know does a lot of research, but it's also a Salem tour owner, so I don't trust it entirely until I see it.
Yeah, I get it.
You know,
I get it.
They might be trying to just tell a story, but it's one of those stories that I think has some possible validity to it. I could see, it wouldn't surprise me, but I would definitely have to see it for myself. But that's the kind of stuff that, you know, parking lots and main streets and Abbott streets. And what do you think about the Giles Corey? Now, there's so many different theories of where they pressed him, but the one that I've been understanding is right where 10 Federal Street is, the parking lot of.
I thought it was where the cemetery is behind the prison.
See, I also have heard it was right in the parking lot where the main parking lot is now. Nobody can seem to figure it out. I mean, I think there's no real way to know for sure.
There's no way to know exact spot.
But we know it was in that general area.
Yeah.
That's and it's funny because, you know, we talk about where the accused are buried or the executed are buried, and we only know for sure 2 of them are on Rebecca Nurse's homestead.
Yep.
It's Rebecca Nurse and
George Jacobs,
yeah. And but I did hear, again, from the same person that came up with the theory of plowing out Pauper Hill, he also told me that it's generally believed that they may have buried Giles Corey in what they had as supposedly a cemetery for suicides. And that's like in South Peabody somewhere, where it's now like a shell station or something.
I think they call that a Potter's Field.
Potter's Field?
Yeah.
I could see where again, it makes sense in the way that I could see where the Puritan authorities would have deemed it in their mind a suicide because you're taking your own life because you won't confess. Just in their weird puritanical, judgmental way.
Never heard of that.
Again, it's a theory I heard.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like I said, I don't. You know what? We also have a legend connected to Giles Corey here in Beverly.
Mm-hmm.
The Beverly Commons Conservation Area. Locally, folklore-wise, there are people that call it Witches Woods. And the legend is that when Giles Corey and some of the other accused were fleeing from persecution, they hid out in the woods there. And the reason why they try to say that about Giles Corey is because his in-laws lived over here in Beverly. But it doesn't really make sense. He was in his 80s. I mean, what's he gonna do, hide out in the woods in his 80s? And like, he lived all the way out in Peabody. It just, to me, historically, that was one of those things that definitely was more folklore than a verifiable, no real evidence that he ever
I
was
think gonna be
there.
refugees. They're not going too far to be one.
No. No, I mean, and they got, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, we weren't there. But it's funny because you listen to a lot of people and they're like, well, you know, everything was totally different back then. So we can't really put ourselves in their shoes. Yeah, we can, because no matter what has changed in time, human ignorance is still the same. So we know exactly how they felt. We know exactly what they were afraid of. We know exactly what they were, you know, we feel the same way now. I mean, how often in other parts of the, get out of here. In other parts of the country, you know, people are living in fear. We're lucky we don't here, but that's because we suffered through it already. Just saying. I've always told people the reason why, and Beverly is actually what I like to brag about. Beverly has even been chosen, even like nationally, as one of the hottest places to live, one of the most fastest growing. I think it was, more and more people are moving here basically and wanting to move here. And a lot of that is because, you know, we are known as being sort of, we call it the North Shore bubble.
Yep.
You know, we're safe here. You can be you here. You can, you know, in Salem even, you know, for all its faults.
Yeah, you can be
There's
yourself
no
here.
other city that you can just be however freaky you want, and Salem's gonna be like, yeah, that's awesome. Hey, you know,
Yeah.
we embrace it. It's something that's beautiful here. It's the uglier you are, the more beautiful you are here. So it's kind of a,
Ugly.
you know.
More.
So it's
Yeah.
like you fit right in. It's,
Yeah.
You know, and Beverly is like that too, but we're just quieter. It's kind of like, you know, we like to have tourists here, but we're not going to be like Salem, and we're not going to. I don't think we could fit the amount of people that.
Yeah, there's no.
But this is what I tell people. Look, if it's October, and you're coming to Salem because you're expecting to find that quaint little autumn seaside town. You're not going to find that in Salem, but you're going to find it here. If that's really what you're craving, if you just want that like, wow, this is it. Look at behind us in the window. This is it. And this is how it is, you know, and it just gets prettier when the trees change and you find yourself driving along the beach. We are right at an entry point to Route 127. I like to consider us the gateway to Cape Ann because you have Salem, and then you come to Beverly and you get on 127 and you drive up through Manchester, Magnolia, you see Hammond Castle, you go up to Stage Fort Park where Roger Conant began it all.
Yep.
He starts in Gloucester and he goes to Salem and then he comes to Beverly. So you're like, that's the planter's path. That's exactly our history. And you can get all that autumn beauty without the Salem chaos, just by coming to Beverly and taking
My
a drive
favorite
up the
hidden
coast.
gem on 120, well, where Hammond Castle is, if you go further up, is Rafe's Chasm.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone goes sees Rafe Chasm and see
Yeah.
the coastline of Magnolia
And then at Stage 4 Park, not only do you have that big rock there, but there's this place called Crescent Moon Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's aptly named. It's like the beach itself is sand, but the edges are all rocky, and they literally come out, and it makes like a tiny miniature cove.
Yeah.
And it's like the perfect swimming beach because you know where the limit is because the rocks just embrace you like that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just amazing.
But the beach on the other side is all rocks, you know.
Yeah.
It's like,
But and these are all places that when you come to Salem, you miss it all.
mm-hmm.
So you come in, and we do see that. You know, we do see people a lot of times. They'll come to Salem, and it's like I call it the Plymouth Rock effect.
Mm-hmm.
This is not what I expected. You know, if you go to see the Mona Lisa, you're not going to really see the Mona Lisa. you're gonna see a big crowd of people taking picture of a painting in a box
They did that
with a
at
pane of glass in front of it.
they did that at Rope's mansion. I'm like, is this their Mona Lisa? Like when they decorated it for like Hocus Pocus, and I think it was in 2021. They had friends over and wait, oh, this is Rope's mansion. Oh, hold on, this people taking pictures.
My one of my biggest, there are certain tour guide moments that I've heard about through other, or even heard other guides say that I've wanted to scream. But you can't be out there yelling at other tour guides no matter what they're saying. It's just not professional. But I've heard things like the Ropes Mansion is where they manufactured the ropes for the witch trials. I've heard guides saying that.
I don't think so.
Absolutely not. No. And then my favorite, I heard.
think they're like a descendant of a prominent.
They are. It's a name. It's Ropes is a family name. It's not Ropes.
A prominent law
They
firm.
did not
Anyway.
make ropes at all. In fact, I don't even know that the Ropes family would have been around. The Ropes Mansion certainly wasn't built in 1690. So, I mean, what's... But the other thing is that I've heard, and this is probably even more, I want to say disgusting just in how inaccurately, like who even does this? Some guide in Salem was telling people that the ashes of the remaining victims are hidden in the stones of the memorial. And it's...
Do you want to pause on that? Dramatic pause.
It's one of those things, like if I had been there, I think that's one of those that I would have just... What? I don't even know what to say. You're just dumbfounded. It's so disgustingly inaccurate.
Yeah.
And I like to point out to people too, it's also downright offensive because, so first of all, that memorial was put there in 1992 to recognize the 300-year anniversary of the Salem witch trials and to really further compound how important it was, the message of that trial. Elie Wiesel himself came to help cut the ribbon.
Yep.
Because he understood as a Holocaust survivor how important that was. And for me personally, that would have been, I never got to see it, but that would have been the most emotional thing to see of all, to see a Holocaust survivor cutting the ribbon in the Salem witch trial memorial.
Also,
it's just so profound. And so having people sit there and say stupid bullshit, and I'll bleep that out later if I have to like that.
Oh, I know.
It's just enraging.
Well, I mean, the other person that was there was Arthur Miller. I mean, he was a victim of a different
the McCarthy
manifestation of witchcraft trials.
I love it when people come to
witch
Salem.
hunts.
I love it when people come to Salem and they try to base their information of the witch trials based off of the Crucible. Well, I saw the Crucible and... Oh, good. I'm glad you saw the Crucible. So
But it was proving a different point.
It was. And
Yeah.
but there are those people that they don't, to them, the Crucible is how it happened. And they'll come and they'll be like, well, and so I sit there, I've actually looked somebody in the eye, they were like, well, wasn't, oh Jesus, I'm having a blank on names now all of a sudden. John Proctor having an affair with Abigail Williams, and I'm like, well, let me just tell you this. If John Proctor was, in fact, having an affair with Abigail Williams in 1692, they should have done a lot more than hang him, because Abigail Williams was 11 or 12 years old.
Oh,
10
good
years
graciousness.
old. But in the play, she's 19 years old because and the thing is, Arthur Miller even said in interviews, don't use this as your curriculum for the witch trials. I'm not talking about the witch trials.
He's
I'm
talking about his own persecution.
Yeah, I mean, and I tell people the witch trials was just used as a backdrop for him to make a point. Mm-hmm. And that's all it was.
I think there was another play at the time was about the Scopes monkey trial that talked about McCarthyism indirectly.
Interesting.
Inherit the Wind.
And here we are again.
Yeah. You didn't.
Somehow.
Goody Proctor didn't gracefully mourn
I have not
properly.
I can say this in response to how this all ties to the witch trials. I can't even remember his name now because I don't like him that much. Who the heck is that guy? He wrote a book on the witch trials. That stupid conservative pundit, Bill O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly.
You know, he writes a book about the witch trials, and
I didn't know this.
And oh yeah, no, he decided, since he's so Bill O'Reilly, you know, I'm gonna write a book about the witch trials, and it was just all crap. It wasn't historically accurate. It wasn't really well looked into. It was just, and I didn't even read it. Everyone that I know who knows about the trials was like, dude, it made me angry, and I'm like, then I'm not gonna read it.
Why would you anyway? Well,
I was morbidly curious. At one point, I was morbidly curious.
When I was on X before I got banned, for whatever, I read people's posts saying, oh, you know, the witch trials were a good idea from, you know, that sort of group.
Yeah, no, I've seen things like that. They're like, you know, we should bring the rope back or bring back somebody. But the other thing that I really don't like is, you know, you get these people now, they wear the shirts. We were one of the ones they couldn't burn. Or we were one of the ones they couldn't hang. Like,
okay.
You're no. Like, you have no idea. I think if you don't really understand the history, and a lot of people don't, they really don't.
We were the ones that, well, not yet.
Yeah, well.
Not yet.
It becomes a very commercialist thing. You've got all these package deals now, like, come to Salem and see the ghosts. You know, people, I like the Salem Wax Museum. I think they've done a great job over there. Mm-hmm. But I saw an ad from Facebook and they said, come to Salem where the dead never rest. And I just commented, especially in October. Because we don't let them. You know, we're just always, and that's the thing. You see, you know, we get these people in Salem that they come in with, and I'm not bashing it in the sense that I understand, like, everybody has their hobbies and the things they enjoy.
Yeah.
But when I walk into a cemetery and I'm surrounded by the presence of my ancestors and I'm enveloped in that energy and I'm communicating with them as a witch, which I do, and it could be in my mind, it could be very real. I won't say either way. For me, it's very real. But I'm sitting in there, and if I'm sitting in there and all of a sudden I hear this god-awful noise because somebody's got a voice box and is trying to raise the dead.
What?
It's very disruptive. That's what these paranormal people do. You know, they come in and they have this thing called a voice box.
Oh, okay.
It's all designed to make it replicate the sound of human voices. Mm-hmm. So they ask a question, and I've seen this, and I've actually even, you know, and this is something I will do because I think it's very disrespectful. There's this video, they went into Charter Street Cemetery, and they had what they call a voice box. And they're like, oh, we're trying to call on the ghost of Sheriff Corwin, who, by the way, isn't even buried there. So why are you even in that cemetery? And why'd you do it, man? And then the box would say, go away. You know, like, it makes some stupid sound that sounded vaguely like maybe go away.
I don't think you want to...
You know, like, what? And I'm sitting, and they're like, oh, are you telling us to go away? And it's like...
I know. I don't think the dead from the colonial period want to be contacted because they didn't believe in that sort of stuff.
Well,
it might be offensive to them.
I would think so. And, you know, and it's not only that, it's like, if you are the son of a bitch that executed these people, and you've been resting in eternity for however many years,
I think we don't.
You really want people still telling you, like, you're an asshole for doing this? Tell me why you did this? Like, come on. If I'm like a soul, if that is a thing, I'm just gonna be like, I ain't gonna talk to you.
The door's closed.
Door's closed. Bye bye. You know, it is. It's, you know, I look at it this way. Are you gonna go to somebody's home and be their guest? This is their final resting place, and we recognize these places as the final resting place, and so that's really their eternal home for the rest of time. Are you gonna go into somebody's house and set up all this equipment when they're trying to sleep? so that you can ask them questions they might not have any desire to answer because, quite frankly, it's none of your damn business. Like, like, how do we know? We don't know if that's...
Well, one time I was playing a video game and I saw something in the corner of my eye. I think that's the best time they come out, when you're 2 a.m. intensely playing a video game and then in the corner of your eye, like,
Well, yeah, I think they like to shock you. There's definite, like, I'll have to tell you, I'll tell you a story there. And I'm usually very reluctant to tell stories like this because I don't want to come off as one of those, like, medium types that's always like, oh my God, I feel, because it's not like that.
I think it happens when you're not looking.
Yeah, and it's an emotional thing too. So when I go into Abbott Street Cemetery, I always will kneel in front of Hale's stone. And the first time I ever did that, it's because I came into the cemetery and I was actually headed over to take some pictures of the Six Infants Dyke stone. But then as I'm walking into the entrance, it's hard to explain, but I just felt like a force pull me right in to that section where Hale is buried. And it was like a strong emotion just came over me, and I fell to my knees, and I was literally there crying at Hale's stone because I think for me, Hale was somebody special for Beverly. He was the first minister. And, people really misunderstand his legacy and what he did for the trials. He actually was, and a lot of people don't realize this, you know how after the trials, Phipps tried to put a gag order down? Well, Hale was the one that broke that gag order because he felt like somebody needed to speak out. And as I'd said, like, Hale was Dorcas Hoare was one of the accused here in Beverly. And she had actually been reprimanded by Hale earlier before the trials for practicing palmistry here in Beverly. She was actually practicing fortune telling, and Hale admonished her, saying, "That's witchcraft. You can't be doing that here. We won't allow it. This will not be allowed here." And so she stopped, but he's messed with her business. So now she starts robbing him blind. Behind his back, she has this woman, Margaret Lord, working as John Hale's servant. And she's literally robbing him blind. And when Hale's children are witnessing it, Margaret Lord's saying, "If you tell, I'll kill you and I'll put a curse on you and your family." And she actually disappears completely. We have no idea where she ended up. She was going to be put on trial, and she just fled and never seen again. The Hoares were, Dorcas Hoare was very heavily admonished for it. But even during her trial in 1692, Hale comes along, and he actually comes, and if you listen to his deposition, he's actually defending her. And he's saying that he believes that she's a changed woman. And she was one of the witches that at the very last minute, so she was actually sentenced to be hanged September 22nd. So there would have been 9 victims instead of what we now have 8. But at the last minute, she gave a dramatic confession, and it was Hale himself that wrote a letter to help give her a stay of execution, and it saved her life. So Hale, people will say that Hale helped end the trials because his wife was accused, but that's not really, his wife was at one point accused, but that was a very obscure accusation well after the brunt of the trials had really ended anyways. So it had no role in the ending of the trials. But Hale was certainly a more reasonable, in relation to all the rest, voice during the madness there. And so there's this sense of Hale just really, in his mind, you've got to picture, these people are human beings just like us. Hale is a product of his education. And he did think that witchcraft was evil, but he also understood, number one, his job was to protect his flock. And Dorcas Hoare, she was part of his flock. And so whether she had made mistakes or not, he had it upon himself to take responsibility for the saving of her soul, because he's the minister. And for that time period, that's pretty endearing that he's willing to overlook her bad behavior if it means he can save her soul. I mean, that's inspiring. I mean, there's a beauty to that.
Yeah.
And I think Hale Hale now sees sort of this new generation of us trying to save our history, and I feel like he's out there saying, this feels good, this is where we want to go. I think Hale would be a woke minister today. I think he'd be a very woke minister. Probably be like one of those guys with the rainbow shawl on. Be like, peace. Well, I mean, if you figure the church that he started is now a Unitarian Universalist church, it's still right there. I can see it from where I'm
right there.
sitting, you know.
I think I took a photo of it anyway.
Yeah, and then right after that, you have the First Baptist Church, which is also very, very, you know, a very progressive church. Beverly in general, it's funny, you know, I see churches in Beverly, and most of these churches have rainbows. Salem, too. They have the rainbows in the front. And
Yep.
they're like, hey, everybody. So, yeah, good stuff. All in our cemeteries. Hale would definitely be leading the charge for progress. Maybe he'd be like an old Bernie Sanders. I like to picture John Hale would be like an old Bernie Sanders. You know what I mean?
Maybe he had ice cream socials.
Be like, we're gonna have special prayer group today we're gonna do like a rock and roll prayer group. I could see Hale doing like crazy cool stuff like that. It's certainly it's fun to think about, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, I mean, certainly not Hathorns. They wouldn't be.
No, they would be like, never mind. They would be like the Grahams.
Lindsey Graham or Archie, or what's the
Billy Graham.
Billy Graham, yeah. Billy
Franklin Graham or something.
I don't know Franklin Graham.
That's his son.
Oh, you know, I always thought Lindsey Graham was related to them, and he's not.
Miss Lindsay.
Miss Lindsay, how much do you think he contributed to the grinder crash? Him alone, I mean, him and Magic Mike. I'm sorry.
I hear like when that happened with the grinder crash, people were posting their messages about the people that they were talking to. I don't know. I haven't had any examples, but
I'm sure. Well, so you're out in Glendale, Arizona, right? And you've got this crazy thing happening. And I don't really want to comment on that for this, but you've got this big event happening, and you know, Grindr's going crazy, and you probably have plenty of people that are like, oh my God, this is one of these people. I'm gonna expose them. Like, is that what you mean? Like they're
out people, yeah.
Yeah.
Out the.
And that's
bigots.
basically what just completely crashes. And wasn't it like the second or third time that it happened?
Maybe it happens at Republican conventions, I guess is the. I don't know.
You know, just follow the patterns. You know, they say read between the lines. That's a reading between the lines moment right there. Look at what they don't want you to look at. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
You know, if they're talking about this over here, you should be looking at that over there, because that's exactly what they're trying to draw your attention away from. I think it's, what I love about Beverly too is that we kind of have gotten this way of understanding that we as a city start with ourselves as a city, and this is where we start. We become a good example to the rest. When John Winthrop, as much as you know, he was, and this is the other thing that I like to point out. Look, for all the bad that the Puritans have done, or all the pain and the misinformation and the superstition, we can't forget too that there is so many good things that came out of it. In the sense that we now have this sense of, all right, I should be careful how I word that. We that understand that these are the mistakes that we have to learn from.
I think one of them was free education for all.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we have learned, and that was the Peabody sisters were big on that. Mm-hmm. You know, was it Sarah Parker Peabody? No, that's
Elizabeth
Parker Peabody. She was, you know, first. I mean, yeah. I mean,
I think she married Horace Mann.
No, that was the younger one of the sisters.
Oh, okay.
And then the other sister married Hawthorne.
I think Elizabeth Peabody founded kindergarten.
Yeah, and she
in the U.S.
She
anyway.
lived in that house by the old burial ground for 5 years only. Actually, I found out the Grimshaw house there. Mm-hmm. They only lived there for 5 years.
Oh yeah.
And then Hawthorne was staying there for a time. One of my favorite stories about Hawthorne, and this again, cemeteries. You know, Hawthorne. I call this the Eleanor Rigby effect. Do you know what I'm talking about? How many of the characters in Hawthorne's books were inspired by names on the gravestones in Charter Street Cemetery?
That's true.
He used to walk that grave when Sophia would get migraines.
Oh, well, where would he get the name Hepzibah?
Hepzibah is on there. I've seen a stone with Hepzibah.
Right.
Another one that you see a lot is Mehitable.
Mm-hmm.
But he's finding these names on stones.
I think Hester Prynne is maybe in Old King's Chapel.
I believe so. Yeah.
Maybe.
So it's, and he even back then is utilizing these stones that it's such an amazing thing to me to
Well,
think these graveyards tie us to our previous generations.
He used the Puritans as a parody of.
He did. He definitely, his creative energy was definitely feeding off of his hate for the Puritan ancestors.
Mm-hmm. Well, he just wants to show how corrupt. Well, I mean, Goodman Brown's a good example of hypocrisy.
Doesn't he? He devotes a lot of time to vilifying his own, John Hathorne. I mean, wasn't one of his characters based on John Hathorne? One of his most evil characters. I have to confess, I know a lot about Hawthorne's life. I try to read his books, and I'm just like. Sorry.
Yeah, there's ways of he deserves a rewrite, but
you spend a whole page describing the flickering of a candle, dude. Come on, can we move on already?
I mean, one of his good.
At least he's descriptive.
I mean, the really good one that he wrote is Mosses from the Old Manse, the introduction. Mm-hmm. It's just you go to the Old Manse in Concord, and you see exactly what he describes, even today. The orchard, the river. Yeah,
it's amazing. I feel like it must be the same with Walden Pond.
Yeah.
I haven't been there, but I would imagine you go there and you read the book. How similar it must be.
Yeah, you see everything that he sees, even as he saw it.
That's why I really this is why I love the library, because this book here, like I said,
the library. Ooh.
Well, this book is cool. I found this book at the library, and this is such an old book, and this isn't even somebody famous, but this is a guy who was a minister in Salem in 1840s. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing, with this book, you're seeing the city through his eyes.
Yeah.
And it's quite a remarkable, way to connect with our past. And really, so for me, I kind of explain graveyards to people. I used to be one of those people that would make fun of people trying to communicate with the dead in graveyards.
Session with pen, sorry.
Oh, but now I'm like, for me, graveyards become this portal to our past, especially as a witch, but even just as a genealogist or a historian, it really is. It becomes, and I can't tell you how many stories of people in our history that I've learned about just through walking through cemeteries and seeing a name. And nowadays, you have the power of technology. Mm-hmm. You can just look at your phone, look up that name, that death date, and find records on this person.
Yeah.
Dating all the way back. I mean, it's like I said, I can see this is my, sixth cousin 5 times removed. And you can even see where your shared ancestor is. I mean, the things you can do.
Well, go through the cemeteries, and I was talking about Spidergate Cemetery and where I grew up. Is how many Nathaniels are buried there?
We have a cemetery here in Beverly called Dodgers Row.
Yeah.
And I've actually haven't been in there yet, but I've a lot of people that are it's one of our city councilors, Todd Rotundo. He runs the Beverly 400 committee, and he was just telling me about Dodgers Row. But I've never been in there. I've known about it, but it's basically, it was land put aside. It was given by the Dodge family to bury their dead, but then more people were added. But you go in there, it's all Dodge. Even Conant Street Cemetery, it's all Trask, Dodge, Batchelder, Ray, and then there's what one of my favorite stones in there is actually not one of the oldest ones, but it's this huge, gorgeous stone. And it's actually Reverend Chipman, who was the first minister at Second Congregational. And it is so far, at least among local cemeteries, and you can tell me if you've seen any, It is a pretty, I mean, there's a lot of print. There's a whole passage written on there, and it's all in Latin.
Oh, probably because he was related to the British government.
He was possibly. I don't. He wasn't originally from Beverly. He was brought in from,
not a royal. Well, he might have been a royal appointment. Because if you
in
go
the
to
1800s. No.
no, oh, 1800s. I mean, if
no,
you
he
go,
was. Well, 18. Actually, that's a good question. I should
well, check
take
the
a look
date.
at that
Because
again.
if he might have been a royal, or a
Interesting.
aristocratic.
It's another
person.
thing to look up at Historic Beverly.
Well, it's if you go to Simon Bradstreet, he was a royal governor. His epitaph
that's
is
true.
in
That's
Latin.
true. That's true.
So you'll see.
All right. Well, that's all the time we got today.
Yay!
This was a blast. So we want to wrap it up, but thank you for co-hosting with me today, and we're going to see plenty more of you. And next time, maybe we'll talk about creepier stuff. Who knows?
Creepier stuff.
Creepier stuff. But yeah, we're done. All right. I want to thank you all for joining me on yet another episode of the official Beverly Witch podcast. Just to mention that everything I do for this podcast is entirely voluntary. I am not employed by any other company, and I do not get compensated for any endorsements I share. Everything I share is from deep research, life experience, and observations from over 30 years in the tourism industry on the North Shore. I was even a guide at historic Fenway Park for 1 year, and I will share thoughts on that as well. So from history to culture to diversity, like I am out on the streets of our historic cities, so too will I be your online guide to Beverly, Cape Ann, Salem, and beyond. So please be sure to take a moment, check my About info to learn more of how you can support my work. Thank you.